Welcome to our overview of Edelweiss for sales reps. Edelweiss is the primary digital catalog tool for publishers. As a sales rep, you'll have the ability to add contacts, create and share catalog markups, receive and export orders, and much more. We'll begin with an overview of getting started as a sales rep on Edelweiss and introduce some key concepts and tools to be aware of, and end with a few best practices. In case you're new to the site, let's go over who's on Edelweiss and what they use it for. Edelweiss is made up of a large user base that includes booksellers, librarians, reviewers, and consumers, and of course, publisher groups, including sales reps. Book industry professionals use us for a wide variety of functions, but the main ones include title discovery, ordering and inventory management, downloading digital review copies, reviewing titles, decision support and analytics, and publisher sales and marketing. The majority of booksellers use Edelweiss to do their ordering, so accounts will be happy to know they can work with you here. When you sign into Edelweiss for the first time, you'll notice that the homepage is made up of various widgets, and these are fully customizable. Widgets are boxes for tools you might find useful and want right at your fingertips. You can explore all the options and find what you want to see most on your homepage, but we recommend that reps add the widgets you see listed out here: on your work list, notifications, active orders, recently viewed, and your collections. Taking some time to set up your widgets will help you work more efficiently later. You can also choose what displays in the top header of your homepage. By default, it's everything: the catalogs page, review copies, event grids, etc. But if, for example, you don't plan to use shelves, that's something you can easily just remove from your view by dragging and dropping it to the hidden section in your settings. One other thing to be aware of on your homepage, particularly if you're an independent rep, is that you can set up all of the publishers you work with under My Publishers for easy access to their catalogs. Clicking on a publisher's name within that Publishers tab will take you right to what we call a publisher page. Your publisher page is basically a landing page where you can come to see all of your organization's catalogs. You can sort the list however you'd like, and if your company uses folders, you can find them and click into them here. The People page is where you'll add your contacts. And as it says here, this is an important step since the way the ordering system works in Edelweiss is that when an account is finished with their order, they can share it with you for you to go ahead and fulfill using your normal procedures. But an account can only share an order with you if you've added them to your contacts. On the People page, you can also import contacts through a spreadsheet or export existing contacts if you need to share them with a colleague. You can also create contact groups and add new contacts from accounts you're already working with by opening up an overview of the account itself and browsing the users within it. Now on to markups. Markups are one of the most important tools to know about as a rep on Edelweiss. The graphic you see here is within one of my publishers' catalogs. A catalog markup is an opportunity for you, as a sales rep, to give your advice and insider knowledge to your accounts as they're working their way through a catalog. Your company's catalog admins and marketing departments, or you if you do it all, work hard to create impressive catalogs with robust title information, but many buyers rely even more on your markups to make their buying decisions. As you see here, a markup has a handful of components. These include markup notes, which are your own annotations on a title, including information like your personal impression of a book, print run, author residence, and more. And then priority, which enables you to more or less rate the importance of a title for a particular store and advise them on how much attention they should pay to it or whether they may want to skip it altogether. And then tags, which you can utilize for sharing simple and concise information, and comparable titles, or what are referred to as comps. Default comps are added by a catalog administrator, but you can highlight or add your own. Highlighting comps or adding your own is a flag to buyers to pay attention to this data. Stores who use our analytics tools will actually see their past inventory and sales data for a comp title. So using an author's previous books or the hardcover as a comp when selling the paperback, for example, can be extremely helpful, and this analytics data can help you sell them a title. And lastly, suggestions. Suggestions aren't technically part of a markup, but go hand in hand and give you the opportunity to suggest order quantities for an account. This is another markup example that includes all the markup elements we just went over. I've highlighted this title because I'm hoping my buyer will pay extra attention to it. I've added a rep pick tag because it's one of my personal favorites. Included some useful markup notes, relevant comp titles, and suggested order quantities for each of this store's locations. Of course, a markup is only useful for your buyers if you share it with them. Sharing your markup happens through the blue markup toolbar you'll see at the bottom of the page anytime you're working in a catalog or collection. There are three options when it comes to sharing. You can share your markup with just individual users, with a group you've created, or with an entire bookstore account. As it says here, once you select those users, groups, or accounts, your markup will immediately be visible to them. But if you'd like to, and this is always nice for buyers, you can generate an email notification that looks like what you see on the bottom right of the screen. Another option to be aware of is sharing your markups with your colleagues in order to share the work. Maybe your organization publishes lots of titles and you split the work with your colleagues by imprint. Make sure to take advantage of the option of sharing your markup notes. We make it easy to pull in notes written by someone else in your organization to use in your own markup just by clicking the plus icon you see here in the shared markup note area. Or, as you'll learn later, markups can also be both exported and imported for sharing purposes. Moving on to orders. The idea is that once you've shared a markup with an account, they're going to build their order, hopefully based on your advice, and the orders page is where you can see orders that your accounts have shared with you or any you've created for them. And you can classify orders as either active or complete to stay organized. Clicking into an order will look a lot like the regular catalog view, but you'll see the suggestions you shared with the account in the light orange bubbles, their actual order quantities in gray, and total number including past order quantities in yellow. Depending on what types of accounts you work with, you may or may not ever really need to create an order on behalf of an account, but this option is useful if you need to create one for a store that doesn't currently use Edelweiss, which can be the case with specialty accounts. Whatever the reason is, you do have the option which can be accessed via the blue toolbar by selecting orders, or on the orders page itself. All orders shared with you or created by you show up on your orders page. If you can't find an order, it's a good idea to check the completed orders section. It's possible you might have marked it complete but can always mark it active again. Keep in mind that marking orders as active or complete won't change anything for your accounts, but is really just meant to keep you organized. When an account has finished an order and you're ready to export it, you'll click the Export Preview button and choose from a number of download formats, including any custom export formats you've created. Sales reps should also know about collections. Collections are essentially private catalogs and work the same as catalogs in many ways. You can create a markup within a collection the same way you would in a catalog, but the main difference is that collections aren't publicly viewable. Only the users you share them with can see them. Think of a collection as a custom catalog that includes titles that'll be most relevant to a particular store, for example, one that sells just cookbooks or art books. Whether it's for a specialty account or any other purpose, collections can be used anytime you want to create pared down lists of titles. So let's end with some best practices. When you're first getting started and adding your accounts on Edelweiss, double check with buyers the email address they use to log into Edelweiss to make sure you connect with them successfully. Although you can still technically share catalogs and collections with buyers who don't use the site, the process is all a lot more streamlined if they're using an Edelweiss account. To stay organized, consider adding a widget for your work list on your homepage. Many reps add catalogs they'll be working on soon to their work list. Complete their markups, share them with accounts, and then take those catalogs back off the work list. Share your markups as early in the season as possible. As it says here, the sooner buyers receive them, the more useful they will be. When writing markup notes, try to keep them uniform when it comes to what information you include and what formatting you use. For example, if you include print run in bolded blue text, consider doing that for all titles you mark up. Since markup notes are meant to be about your knowledge of a title and personalized advice that accounts can really only get from you, we recommend avoiding copying and pasting information already included on a title listing by your company's catalog administrators. It probably goes without saying, but use suggestions responsibly and judiciously. Obviously, you want your buyers to take these recommendations seriously. If they'd like, they can even accept all of your suggestions in one click and turn that into an order. As we talked about earlier, relevant comps are extremely useful. We surveyed veteran buyers and found that in terms of priority, they prefer to see any previous releases of a title first, then other titles by that same author, and books by other authors last. If in doubt, you can always ask your buyers what they prefer. Use the Notes to Self tool to leave private notes for yourself on titles. These notes are only visible to you so they can be used for things you might find useful when writing your markups or when selling to accounts. Before submitting an order, you always want to be sure a buyer isn't still working on it. To help with this, encourage them to use the Send Notification tool, or decide on another way you'll communicate when an order is all set. And finally, to make sure the whole process goes as smoothly as possible for both yourself and your accounts, come up with a plan on how you'll work together on Edelweiss. If you'll be doing sales calls, for instance, sharing your markups well in advance and making sure buyers have enough time to review them could save you both hours of time. Now be sure to visit our sales rep training page linked in the video description for step-by-step instructions on how to make the most of these tools. Our team is always here to help, so feel free to reach out with questions anytime to support@AboveTheTreeline.com.